So there's been a big concern that the wealthy countries like the United States or Western European countries will get the vaccine readily available to it and that it can afford to pay for it. How do people in the developing countries get access to the vaccine and can they afford to pay for it?
These are big challenges. What we did as the World Bank in October, our board approved, and with the support of all these shareholder countries, the idea of $12 billion of financing. We can use that money to help set up vaccination systems in poor countries, also to buy vaccines from manufacturers and also from COVAX, which is an international facility that's getting access to vaccines. So we're already in the process of deploying those vaccines. We've been working since October to do an assessment, one country at a time, and we've done now 96 assessments of their readiness to actually do the vaccines. The World Bank's been heavily involved in vaccination programs for many years, for decades, including polio and Ebola and measles and on down, HPV and AIDS, therapeutics. And so that the bank is able to help countries. Last week, we announced our first operation to buy vaccines and to begin the deployment of vaccines, and we'll have many more operations coming down the line now.
Tell us now, we're in the beginning of 2021. Is that going to be a good year for the global economy, or what are your biggest worries?
One thing that happened in 2020 was the world didn't slow as much as people had feared, and so the forecasts for 2021 are actually being brought down because the starting point was a little higher than expected. So I'm pretty cautious on 2021. I think a lot of countries are still in substantial trouble, and COVID is, as you know, is still very omnipresent around the world. So we've thought that a critical variable is to get vaccinations done for as many people as possible. That will help in the GDP outlook, in the growth outlook. Reopening schools is a critical variable because both from the education standpoint, also it enables people to be at their jobs working if the schools are open. So that's a key variable, and the World Bank is very involved in education. So all of those. Now, one thing I should mention is the inequality of the current world environment. It's troubling, and I think it's actually getting worse, which is a big challenge.
So are you worried about COVID really becoming the dominant economic issue for 2021 as well? In other words, it doesn't go away and it really hurts the economies in developing markets much more than the developed markets?
Yes, and there are many aspects of that. One is simply having global growth slow really hurts poor people because they're dependent on trying to catch up, on getting advancement. Also, remittances have been down. That's the money that's sent back home by workers that are across their borders, outside their borders, and that's gone down a lot. So that's a big blow to the developing world. And then new investment simply has been much slower. One thing the World Bank has tried to do is supply, and I pushed in April of 2020 that we wanted to be in working capital and trade finance. This is the short end of what companies need in order to keep their private sector companies and businesses operating. And because the banking system had really reduced its offerings in these poorer countries. So we've been successful in that, a big ramp up of working capital and trade finance. And I think that's helped in trying to build resilience. But I am concerned, as you say, that it could be another slow or harmful year. And especially that's true of people's health, nutrition. One thing we're doing to combat that is social safety nets, just getting cash to people so that they can, and especially to women, so that they can buy food for their family, they can pay for some kind of transport to education, or at least survive during the crisis. That's been one priority.